The ship hung silently in the darkness of deep space, its massive hull reflecting faintly in the light of distant Arcturus. For millions of years, it had drifted, alone and forgotten, until today. Captain Olivia Grant stood at the viewport of the Earth Alliance vessel Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the ancient craft. "It's beautiful," she whispered, more to herself than to the bridge crew around her. "And completely unlike anything we've ever encountered," said Lieutenant Frank Morales, standing beside her. As the expedition's first contact specialist, he'd seen his share of alien technology, but nothing like this. "Those markings don't match any known species in our database." The derelict was enormous, at least 3 times the size of the largest Earth Alliance cruiser. Its hull a strange, iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as they watched. What had initially appeared to be battle damage now looked more like intricate patterns etched into the surface. "Scans show minimal power signatures," reported Communications Officer Lisa Perry. "But there's definitely something still active in there." Grant nodded. "Prepare a boarding team. I want to know what this thing is, and who built it." Hours later, Grant led a team of 12 through the airlock connecting their ship to the derelict. Artificial gravity still functioned, though the air was thin and stale. Their footsteps echoed through cavernous corridors that curved in ways that seemed to defy conventional physics. "This architecture," Engineer Paul Baker ran his gloved hand along a wall. "The materials aren't just advanced. They're responding to touch somehow." Morales pointed his scanner at a console that flickered weakly. "I'm getting data readings, but the system shuts down whenever I try to interface." As they ventured deeper, they discovered the ship's central chamber, a vast, dome-shaped room filled with technology unlike anything humanity had ever created. At its center stood what appeared to be a command platform, surrounded by crystalline structures. "Let me try," said Baker, approaching the platform. He placed his hand on what looked like a control panel. But nothing happened. Each crew member attempted the same, with identical results. "It's dead," Grant concluded, disappointment evident in her voice. Just then, Security Officer Ryan Martinez, who had been exploring the Psi passage, called out, "Captain, you need to see this." They followed him to a smaller chamber where holographic images flickered across the walls, logs of some kind, though the language was indecipherable. The images showed beings of various species attempting to access the ship's systems, all failing. "It's like it's rejecting them," Morales said, fascination overcoming his usual caution. Grant studied the images carefully. "This ship has encountered other species before, many of them. But for some reason, it wouldn't accept any of them." When they returned to the central chamber, Baker made a startling discovery. "Captain, the core AI is actually still active, just dormant. And these readings, they're incredible. If we could wake it up, this technology could advance humanity by centuries." As the team continued their investigation, they noticed something peculiar. Certain systems would activate momentarily when humans approach, only to shut down again seconds later. It was as if the ship was testing them, evaluating them against some unknown criteria. "Whatever this vessel was designed for," Grant said, gazing around the magnificent chamber, "it's been waiting a very long time for someone. And for some reason, it seems more interested in us than it was in any species that came before." She touched her comm badge. "Grant to Pathfinder. We're going to need a specialized team. And tell Earth Alliance Command. We found something that could change everything." Kate Wilson stepped onto the ancient vessel with more curiosity than caution. Unlike the formal military personnel who surrounded her, she wore simple coveralls with pockets bulging with custom tools. As Earth Alliance's top neural interface specialist, she'd been rushed to the Arcturus system the moment Captain Grant's report reached headquarters. "So this is the mysterious ship," she said, running her hand along a wall. The surface felt warm, almost alive beneath her fingers. "You weren't exaggerating about its response to touch." Captain Grant nodded. "It reacts differently to each person. Sometimes the lights brighten, sometimes panels appear, but nothing substantial enough to access its systems. The central command chamber took Kate's breath away. Crystalline structures reached toward the domed ceiling, pulsing with faint light that seemed to intensify as she approached. "Interesting," she murmured, pulling a neural scanner from her pocket. "The energy patterns here, they're almost like brainwaves." Engineer Alan Rodriguez, who had joined the exploration team 3 days earlier, looked up from a console he'd been studying. "Brainwaves? You mean it's thinking?" "More like dreaming," Kate replied. She moved toward the central platform, where a chair-like structure stood empty. "This looks like an interface point." Captain Grant stepped forward. "We've tried sitting there. Nothing happens." Kate studied the chair carefully. Thin, wire-like protrusions extended from its headrest. "These aren't for restraint," she said. "They're neural connectors, but more advanced than anything we've developed." She hesitated only briefly before sitting down. The chair adjusted to her form immediately, and the wires moved on their own, hovering near her temples without touching. "Wilson, I don't think—" Grant began, but stopped as the chamber suddenly illuminated fully for the first time, bathing everyone in soft blue light. Kate felt a gentle pressure against her mind, like a question without words. Instead of resisting, she opened her thoughts, welcoming the contact. The wires touched her skin, and information flooded her consciousness. "Hello," a voice said inside her mind, ancient and curious. "Hello," Kate replied aloud, causing the others to stare at her. "You are compatible," the voice continued. "First contact in 7.3 million standard years." The room's crystalline structures began projecting images, stars, planets, and beings unlike any known species. "What is it saying?" Rodriguez asked, stepping closer. Kate's eyes were unfocused, seeing something beyond the room. "It calls itself Sentinel. It was built by a race called the Architects." Images flashed faster, a civilization of incredible advancement, buildings that merged with nature, ships that traveled through space without conventional propulsion. "The Architects knew they were facing extinction," Kate translated. "They built Sentinel and others like it to preserve their knowledge and wait for compatible pilots." "Compatible pilots," Grant repeated. "It was waiting for us specifically." Kate shook her head slightly, careful not to disrupt the connection. "Not necessarily humans, just a species with compatible neural patterns. It's tried to connect with others, but couldn't establish a proper link." Rodriguez approached a panel that suddenly activated under his hand. "Captain, I'm getting access now." All around the chamber, dormant systems hummed to life. Holographic displays appeared, showing ship schematics and star maps. "It's responding to both of us," Kate said with wonder. "There's something about human brains that matches what the Architects designed this ship to work with." Captain Grant studied the newly activated displays. "Ask it what its purpose is." Kate closed her eyes, focusing on the question. When she opened them again, they widened with awe. "Sentinel is a guardian," she said, "protector of something called the Nexus, and now that it has found compatible pilots, it's ready to fulfill its mission." As if in response, the ship trembled slightly, ancient engines awakening after millions of years of sleep. "It's not just allowing us to pilot it," Kate whispered. "It's choosing us." News of the ancient vessel spread faster than Captain Grant had anticipated. Just 3 days after Kate Wilson's breakthrough with Sentinel, sensors detected 5 ships entering the Arcturus system. They weren't Earth Alliance. Centauri Imperium. Lieutenant Morelos confirmed, studying the tactical display. 1 dreadnought, 4 cruisers, heavily armed. Grant frowned. The Earth Alliance and Centauri Imperium had maintained an uneasy peace for decades, but both sides constantly searched for military advantages. "They must have intercepted our transmissions," she said. "How long until they reach us?" 6 hours at current speed, Rodriguez answered from his station. Inside Sentinel's command chamber, Kate worked frantically to understand the ship's defensive systems. The neural connection had strengthened each time she interfaced, but much of the ship's technology remained beyond her comprehension. "Anything useful?" Grant asked, entering the chamber. Kate gestured to holographic displays showing complex energy flows. "Sentinel has defenses, but they're integrated with something called the Nexus Protocol. I can't fully activate them without understanding what that is." The ship's presence in Kate's mind grew stronger. Images flashed in her consciousness. A network of similar vessels linked across vast distances, protecting something of immense value. "Sentinel wasn't built as a warship," Kate explained. "It's part of a larger system, a guardian of knowledge, and something more." Rodriguez, who had developed his own partial connection with the ship's engineering systems, looked up from a console. "Captain, I found something interesting about the propulsion system. It doesn't just use conventional space travel, it generates some kind of wormhole." "Can we use it to escape?" Grant asked. "Possibly," Rodriguez replied. "But without understanding it completely, activating it could be dangerous." A communication alert interrupted them. On the main display appeared the stern face of Admiral Diane Foster, commander of the Earth Alliance Reinforcement Fleet. "Captain Grant, we've detected Centauri vessels approaching your position. My fleet will reach you in 8 hours. 2 hours too late," Grant replied grimly. "Hold your position," Foster ordered. "This ship is now officially classified as critical to Earth Alliance security. Under no circumstances can it fall into Centauri hands." After the transmission ended, Grant turned to Kate. "We need options." 3 hours later, a small shuttle from the approaching Centauri fleet requested permission to dock with the Pathfinder. Inside were 2 diplomats, their expressions betraying no emotion as they were escorted to the conference room. "The vessel you have discovered belongs to no one," said the senior diplomat, a severe woman named Vela. "By interstellar salvage rights, it should be claimed by a neutral party until its origins are determined." Grant kept her expression neutral. "The ship has already established a connection with human operators. It's chosen us." Vela's eyes narrowed. "Surely you don't expect us to believe a machine has preferences. Our scientists would like to examine it." "That won't be possible," Grant replied. As the diplomatic standoff continued, Kate made a startling discovery in Sentinel's memory banks. The ship wasn't just waiting for compatible pilots, she told Rodriguez quietly. It was programmed to recognize specific neural patterns, patterns that apparently only humans possess. Why would an ancient alien race build a ship that only humans could pilot? Rodriguez wondered. Before Kate could answer, alarms blared throughout the Pathfinder. 4 Centauri commandos had somehow bypassed security and were attempting to board Sentinel. As the security team rushed to intercept them, Kate felt Sentinel's consciousness surge within her mind. The ship had detected the threat. Throughout the ancient vessel, dormant defense systems activated without any command. Energy fields appeared at every access point, trapping 2 Centauri soldiers between sections. The others found themselves facing automated drones that emerged from previously hidden compartments. "It's protecting itself," Kate whispered, "and it's protecting us." On the bridge of the Pathfinder, Grant received word that the Centauri dreadnought had powered up its weapon systems. The confrontation had begun. Kate Wilson sat in the neural interface chair at Sentinel's heart, her eyes closed in concentration. The attempted Centauri intrusion had triggered something in the ancient vessel. Protective protocols that had slumbered for millions of years were now fully active, and with them came a flood of new information. "The connection is stronger now," she said to Rodriguez and security officer Eric Mason, who stood watch nearby. "It's like Sentinel is trusting me more." The neural filaments around her temples glowed with a soft blue light, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Images and data streamed through her consciousness, star maps, technical schematics, and fragments of the architect's history. "They were beautiful," Kate whispered. "The architects. They looked almost like tall, slender humans, but with iridescent skin. They could see wavelengths of light we can't even imagine." Rodriguez monitored the ship's systems on a newly activated console. Power levels are increasing across all sections. Whatever you're doing, it's working. In Kate's mind, Sentinel's presence grew more distinct, less like an abstract intelligence, and more like a personality. It showed her visions of the architect's final days, facing extinction from a cosmic event they couldn't prevent. They knew they were going to die, Kate said, her voice thick with emotion. But they hoped someone would come after them. They built Sentinel as a seed vessel to preserve their knowledge, their technologies, their art. And they wanted humans to find it. Mason asked, skeptical. Kate's eyes opened, glowing faintly with the same blue light as the neural connections. Not exactly. They engineered compatibility. Something about our neural patterns matches what they designed this ship to recognize. A new image formed in her mind. A double helix structure, slowly transforming. They visited Earth millions of years ago. They made subtle changes to early human DNA. They created us. Rodriguez asked, stunned. No, Kate replied. They just nudged our evolution, so that one day we might be able to understand their technology, become their successors. The ship suddenly hummed with energy, and hidden sections of the control room slid open, revealing additional chambers and equipment. The central platform expanded, creating 2 additional interface chairs beside Kate's. It wants more pilots, she said. Rodriguez, Mason, it's chosen you too. Rodriguez hesitated only briefly before taking the seat to Kate's right. The neural filaments reached for him immediately, creating the same connection. Mason, after a moment's uncertainty, sat in the 3rd chair. As the 3 humans connected simultaneously with Sentinel, the ship underwent a dramatic transformation. Throughout its massive hull, dormant systems awakened. Sections that had appeared damaged healed themselves, molecules rearranging according to patterns encoded eons ago. On the Pathfinder's bridge, Captain Grant watched in awe as Sentinel shed its derelict appearance. The hull gleamed with renewed purpose, and symbols along its surface glowed with internal light. It's beautiful, she whispered. In the command chamber, Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason experienced the ship's awakening as a rush of joy and purpose. Sentinel's full capabilities unfolded in their minds. Faster than light travel, energy manipulation beyond current human understanding, and self-sustaining systems that could support life indefinitely. There's a ceremony, Kate said suddenly. A protocol for officially claiming the ship. Following Sentinel's guidance, the 3 pilots spoke words in the architect's language, sounds no human throat had formed for millions of years. As they completed the ritual, the ship's AI core fully activated. I am Sentinel, a voice spoke, both in their minds and aloud. Guardian of the architect's legacy. You are my chosen pilots. The ship's main view screen showed the approaching Centauri vessels, now just hours away. The threat approaches, Sentinel continued. We must protect the legacy. We must reach the Nexus. What is the Nexus? Mason asked. Images formed in their minds, a vast network of similar ships and stations, scattered throughout the galaxy, waiting to be awakened. The salvation, Sentinel replied simply. And now the time has come. The Centauri dreadnought fired first, its energy weapons lancing through space toward the Pathfinder. Captain Grant ordered evasive maneuvers, but her ship was outmatched against the larger vessel. Shields failing, called the tactical officer as the Pathfinder shuddered under another hit. Inside Sentinel, Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason felt the attack through their neural connection with the ship. Alarms that no human had heard before echoed through ancient corridors. We need to help them, Mason said urgently. Kate nodded, reaching deeper into her connection with Sentinel. There are defensive capabilities, but the ship doesn't want to engage. It's designed to preserve knowledge, not destroy. Then we need to escape, Rodriguez replied, his fingers dancing across holographic controls as he accessed the propulsion systems. The wormhole drive is operational, but I don't fully understand how to control it. Sentinel's presence flowed through their minds, guiding their actions. Kate suddenly understood what needed to be done. "We need to bring the Pathfinder's crew aboard," she said, quickly. Captain Grant received the message with mixed emotions. Abandoning her ship went against everything she believed in, but the ancient vessel offered their only chance of survival. With the Centauri forces closing in, she ordered an emergency evacuation. "All personnel to Sentinel," she commanded. "Move." The crew rushed through connecting airlocks as the Pathfinder absorbed more damage. Grant was the last to leave, taking one final look at her bridge before joining her crew aboard the alien vessel. "Everyone's aboard," she reported to Kate. "Now what?" In the command chamber, Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason worked in perfect synchronization with Sentinel's systems. The neural connection allowed them to operate the ship instinctively, as if it were an extension of their own bodies. "Wormhole drive initializing," Rodriguez announced. "But we don't know where it will take us." Sentinel provided coordinates, a distant star system, far beyond mapped space. "It's a safe harbor," Kate explained to Grant. "Somewhere the Centauri won't find us." As the Centauri ships surrounded them, Sentinel's engines powered up. Energy swirled around the ancient vessel, creating distortions in spacetime. The Pathfinder, now abandoned, drifted between Sentinel and the approaching enemies. "Drive activated," Mason called. Space tore open before them, a swirling vortex of light and energy, unlike any human jump technology. Sentinel surged forward, entering the wormhole just as the Centauri dreadnought fired again. The journey lasted only moments, but to those aboard, it felt like swooning through liquid stars. When they emerged, an unfamiliar sun burned in the view screen. "We're approximately 600 light-years from Arcturus," Kate said, reading information from Sentinel's navigation systems, beyond any charted human territory. Their relief was short-lived. Alarms sounded as Sentinel detected new signatures behind them. "Impossible," Grant whispered as 3 Centauri cruisers emerged from smaller wormholes. "They followed us." "They must have analyzed our wormhole signature and replicated it," Rodriguez said grimly. Pursuit continued across 3 more systems as Kate and her co-pilots learned to use Sentinel's capabilities. The ancient ship moved with increasing grace as they grew more comfortable with their neural connection. During a brief respite hidden in a nebula, they discovered something extraordinary. Sentinel's sensors detected another derelict vessel of architect design orbiting a dead world. "It's not alone," Kate realized. "There are others out there, a network of ships and outposts scattered across the galaxy." As they approached the derelict, Sentinel shared its purpose through their neural link. The architects had created hundreds of vessels and stations, each containing pieces of their civilization's knowledge and technology. "Sentinel is searching for its siblings," Kate explained to the others. "It's been programmed to reunite with them." Before they could investigate further, sensors detected the Centauri ships approaching once more. "They're not giving up," Mason said, returning to his station. Kate felt Sentinel's resolve through their connection. "Neither are we." For the first time, the ancient vessel activated its defensive systems willingly. Energy weapons emerged from previously hidden ports along its hull. The ship had chosen its side. Sentinel emerged from its final wormhole, jump into a region of space unlike any the humans had ever seen. A massive structure hung against the backdrop of a dying red giant star, an architect space station that dwarfed even the largest human constructions. "It's beautiful," Kate whispered as Sentinel approached the station automatically, following coordinates embedded deep in its memory. The station's surface glimmered with the same iridescent material as Sentinel's hull, adorned with intricate patterns that shifted and changed as they watched. At its center was a sphere the size of a small moon, surrounded by curved arms that resembled protective hands. "This is the archive," Kate explained as Sentinel shared knowledge through their neural link. "The greatest repository of architect history and technology." Captain Grant stood behind the 3 pilots, awestruck by the sight. "Will it recognize us like Sentinel did?" "We'll find out soon," Rodriguez replied as the ship aligned with a docking port that appeared to have been designed specifically for vessels of Sentinel's class. As they docked, the station awakened. Lights flickered on along its massive arms, and energy signatures surged as long-dormant systems activated. A soft chime echoed through Sentinel's corridors. A welcome home. Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason led a small team including Grant onto the station. The artificial gravity and atmosphere adjusted automatically to human requirements as they stepped through the airlock. Inside, the station revealed itself as far more than a mere outpost. It was a world unto itself, with vast chambers containing perfect recreations of architect environments, crystal forests, flowing water features, and gardens with plants preserved in stasis for millions of years. In the central sphere, they discovered the historical archives, a complete record of the architect's civilization from its earliest days to its final moments. Holographic displays activated as they approached, showing scenes from a culture of incredible advancement and beauty. "Look at this," Kate said, approaching a circular platform at the chamber center. As she stepped onto it, a holographic architect appeared, tall, elegant, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. "Greetings, children of Earth," the figure said in perfect English, its voice melodic and warm. "If you are seeing this message, then Sentinel has found you worthy." The team exchanged shocked glances. They knew about Earth specifically. Grant asked. The hologram continued as if answering her. "Yes, we knew of your world. We visited it when your species was young, still finding its way. We saw in your ancestors the potential to one day reach the stars." Images appeared around them. Primitive humans encountering tall, shimmering beings who taught them to make fire, to build shelters, to heal with plants. "We made subtle changes to your genetics," the hologram explained, "not to control your development, but to ensure that one day you might be compatible with our technology. We needed successors who could use what we built, who could carry on our work." "What work?" Mason asked. New images formed, a massive wave of energy sweeping through a galaxy, destroying everything in its path. "The cycle of extinction," the hologram said solemnly. "It has happened before, and it will happen again. Our civilization was not the first to face it, but we hope to be the last. We built ships like Sentinel and stations like this archive to preserve life through the coming darkness." Kate felt a chill. "And this cycle is coming again." "Yes, our calculations predicted it would return approximately 8 million years after our extinction. You have found us just in time." Before they could ask more questions, alarms sounded throughout the station. Sentinel had detected ships approaching. The Centauri forces had found them again. "They're coming in hot," Rodriguez reported, checking the nearby console. "Weapons charge." The holographic architect looked toward the ceiling, as if seeing through it to the approaching threat. "The archive has defenses, but they require activation by compatible pilots." Kate stepped forward without hesitation. "Show us." The hologram guided them to a chamber deeper within the station, where 3 interface chairs similar to those on Sentinel waited. As Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason took their positions, the neural connections formed instantly. Through these links, they saw the full truth. The architects had built this station not just as an archive, but as the control center for a galaxy-wide defense system. Sentinel was one of hundreds of ships designed to connect to this network, creating a shield that could protect inhabited worlds from the coming extinction wave. As the Centauri ships opened fire on the station, Kate felt the archive's defenses respond to her commands. Energy shields sprang to life, absorbing the attack. "We need to show them," she said to Grant. "They don't understand what they're interfering with." The extinction wave was coming, for humans, for Centauri, for all life in the galaxy, and only together could they hope to survive it. The holographic displays in the archive's command center showed a terrifying sight, a massive wave of energy approaching from the galactic core, consuming everything in its path. Stars went dark as it passed, planets crumbled, and entire civilizations disappeared in an instant. "This is what destroyed the architects," Kate explained to the gathered Earth Alliance officers and the Centauri delegation that had reluctantly agreed to a meeting. and it's headed our way. The Centauri ambassador, a proud woman named Vela, studied the projection with narrowed eyes. "How long do we have?" "Months, perhaps a year," Rodriguez answered, interpreting data from the archive's sensors. "It's moving faster than the architects predicted." Captain Grant turned to Vela. "Now do you understand why we need to work together? This isn't about claiming a ship or technology. It's about survival." The evidence was undeniable. After hours of tense discussion, an unprecedented alliance was formed between humans and Centauri. Earth Alliance ships and the remaining Centauri vessels positioned themselves around the archive station, no longer as enemies, but as the first united defense against the approaching threat. While diplomats worked on broader cooperation, Kate, Rodriguez, and Mason focused on understanding the architect's shield network. Through their neural links with both Sentinel and the archive, they learned that similar ships and stations were scattered across the galaxy, all waiting to be activated by compatible pilots. "We need to find the other ships," Kate said, studying a galactic map showing dormant architect vessels. "But there's no way we can reach them all in time." The answer came from an unexpected source. During one neural interface session, Kate discovered that Sentinel could transmit activation signals to other architect vessels through subspace. "It's like waking them up remotely," she explained to Grant. "If we can boost the signal from the archive station, we might be able to reach all of them at once." The next weeks passed in frantic activity. Human and Centauri engineers worked side by side, building a signal amplifier according to specifications provided by the archive. Earth Alliance sent messages to every known species, warning of the coming threat and requesting aid in finding dormant architect vessels in their territories. Kate worked tirelessly to develop a new interface technology that could allow more humans to connect with architect systems. Using her own neural patterns as a template, she created simplified interfaces that bypassed the need for full genetic compatibility. "It's not perfect," she admitted as volunteers tested the new system, "but it will allow more people to help operate the network when the time comes." As the energy wave drew closer, ships arrived from across known space, Earth Alliance, Centauri, and a dozen other species, all setting aside their differences in the face of extinction. Each vessel carried volunteers ready to attempt connection with architect technology. On the day of activation, Kate stood at the center of the archive's command platform. Sentinel docked and connected to the station's systems. Around her, hundreds of neural interfaces linked human and alien minds to the ancient technology. "Everyone ready?" she asked, receiving affirmative responses from throughout the station and from ships positioned at strategic points across the galaxy. Kate initiated the signal. Energy surged from the archive, amplified and directed by Sentinel. Across the galaxy, dormant architect vessels awakened, their systems recognizing the call of their long-lost siblings. One by one, confirmation signals returned, ships rising from ocean depths, emerging from mountain hideaways, awakening from asteroid vaults, each connected to the network, extending the protective field. When the wave struck the first shield point, everyone connected to the network felt it, a tremendous pressure pushing against the barrier. For one terrifying moment, it seemed it might break through. Then additional shields activated, strengthening the network. The wave split around protected systems, continuing its destructive path through unshielded regions, but leaving islands of safety where the architect technology stood guard. Days later, as the immediate danger passed, Kate stood on Sentinel's bridge. The ship was now the flagship of a new fleet, a mixture of human, Centauri, and other species vessels, all working together to expand the shield network and search for survivors in damaged systems. "The architects knew they wouldn't survive," she said to Rodriguez and Mason as they prepared for their next mission. "But they made sure we would." Through the view screen, they watched as ships from a dozen worlds maneuvered around the archive station, crews learning to operate newly awakened architect vessels. "No ship deserved her," Mason said, patting Sentinel's console affectionately, "until we came." Kate smiled, feeling Sentinel's presence warm in her mind. not just us, all of us together. As Sentinel's engines powered up, Kate gave the command to depart. They had more ships to find, more worlds to protect. The Architect's legacy had become humanity's purpose, not just to survive, but to ensure that life throughout the galaxy would continue to thrive. The ancient ship, no longer alone after millions of years, carried them forward into a future that none of its creators had lived to see, but that they had made possible through their final, greatest gift.